Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Thank you for joining us with your holiness and to remind us of the holiness within all of us. It's like I have to learn from scratch what holiness is. I can see there are so many ideas about holiness, bowing down, or however that looked. Thankfully, Jesus has shown me I don't know anything at all. So yesterday, I think I mentioned last night about we had kind of a group action to go out and, oh my gosh, there's so much happiness and joy coming. Just that reminder. So we went out to move, as Maurice said, a crown of thorns. I mean, it was, I don't know how those guys cut that road down. It's so miraculous. Every time they move, the two guys that work on the property, like it has to be 25 yards, I'd say, at least 25, maybe 30 yards of bougainvillea. And you know, this thing has like thorns on it. They're crazy. Anyway. And so we moved the pile because I could just feel not to burn. Usually the neighbors are all burning in the back of the property. So, okay, Jesus, can we move that pile? He said, okay. So, and it just felt good to go out there together. Anyway, so this morning I woke up and it was like, oh, I could feel that in my body. And then I had the best talk ever with Jesus about it because we know this is belief in cause and effect, that the body does something. I'm like crazy happy to talk about this. And I could see that was part of the play. Part of the play, like seemingly the whole life was that you do something or you go work out and you're going to be sore. Do you see how that play is? I was like so happy to sit and look with Jesus. And if there's any more coming, to look with Jesus to see that is not true. You can ask him, is that natural? It's an idea of cause and effect, that moving all those brambles or whatever. He's talking about consequences, the belief that there's consequences. You know, that play in consciousness, no pain, no gain. Well, we know whose voice that is. We can ask. So let's ask him about this. So great. Jesus, is it natural for us to wake up sore in the morning? And here's, see, it's a projection. It's a concept. It's an idea. Wow. And just start looking at that, the projection, and clear. He said it's not natural for you to feel anything. And just look at it like everything else, desired experience, a desire to have a thought that seemingly something happened over here. And see the because come in? Jesus is telling me right now, they're completely unrelated. Completely. But isn't that the biggest thing, the trick? One of the consciousness tricks? You're going to be sore if you do that. Yet, you know, when we were back there, I didn't really give it much thought. I just knew from Jesus that, and Muji would say this too, that when you have something to do, because I've been pretty quiet around here, not going out and walking much, mostly inward looking and just following. And so, you know, some ideas could come in the mind, but I really trusted Jesus. If he said, go out there and you're going to go out there and like haul things, like Muji says, the energy comes, like the love just moves it. So we can see that nobody's moving it. That's the acceptance of those little assignments. The assignments to see that there's nobody here. But the only thing we can relate to, and why he says, you can do anything I ask, because we're so used to doing something. It's, of course, continues to be brilliant. You see that, of course. You know, and you really see what he's showing us and how beautifully this is constructed to support us to to be only love, for that's what we are. And to see the trick in that. So thank you, Jesus. You know, because in the past I might have go to something, well, Jesus, you gave me an assignment. I'm sort of. And that, whose voice would that be? Instead of going, oh, I can look. It's an opportunity to look, to transcend. And then, because now we can start to see that love's behind that. Infinite love with every looking at with that miracle. It's like, wow, happiness, not to be subject to our delusions. So with joy and gratitude, we look at lesson 53 together. Okay, Jesus, I'm starting this. I don't know anything about it. Like I've never seen the course before. We'll start at -0. This is like drop every idea. We've never seen this before. And then we'll be really clueless going into and just we can just like, okay, I'll just take this totally in. Every word you're telling me today. We get really enthusiastic about it. Okay. Today we will review the following. Yeah, he's saying it's helpful to come to these like you don't know anything about it, not a thing. Of course, that's what he's unwinding us from, that we think we know. Okay. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Okay. Jesus, I'm going to look at that just fresh. So that it just, go naked, and then we'll just let Jesus show us like the beauty of that, like what that holy thought is pointing to our holiness. And you can just watch those thoughts point to infinite. You just watch them point up there. Jesus, this thought points to my holiness, doesn't it? You can hear them. Okay. My meaningless thoughts. Yeah, we're looking deep at like that desire for thoughts, like wanting thoughts more than God. Just like, I want them. I'm checking in to see if those are wanted. I'm just asking, I say, Jesus, so supreme happiness doesn't have thoughts. It doesn't know what thoughts are. That's what these are. They're little pointers up. So he just keeps our head, like the dogs when we're this is hilarious. So, and I love it because Lori, when she's doing the dogs, you always make them keep their eyes on you. Like they say, like if he's teaching so much to these dogs, it's just crazy. Who knew? Another way I was wrong. But have the dogs go up to look to make sure they're looking you in the eye. And that's what Jesus is doing with these two. He's giving us these little word treats so that we look at him in the eye so we can look at him directly. And so we can hear that it's true. And then we can follow him when our eyes are on him. And get the little treat experience of holiness. Since the thoughts of which I'm aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. Okay, let's really get that sentence. Since the thoughts of which I'm aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. Am I willing to accept that, Jesus? Is there any resistance that the world has no meaning? And just to get that comforting, either yes or no is good. See, if he tells you no, like, I still believe the worlds have meaning, then you have a conversation. That's all it is. And we just go line through line and just ask him, okay, where's this? And he'll lead us right out doing that, having those sentence by sentence conversations. And Lori was asking something really helpful yesterday. And that was like, I've because he's been encouraging me to encourage for myself, it's for me always, whatever's happening. And to start out the typing, like just typing what you think you hear from him, ask him a question and then type it out. And that was helpful to be reminded, how he will work with us. You just type the questions out and then start typing what he tells you and type another question and just try to hear. And over time, it'll get clearer and clearer, that conversation. And you'll be surprised that you'll go back and be so surprised. And he keeps reminding me, I got to put that up, which is that conversation I had with him during writing the book. And you'll see how he was teaching me. Because I can remember, I told Lori that. I said, I can remember when I was typing that kind of, is that really Jesus that I'm hearing? It seemed, and even when I was typing the book, it just that back and forth. And having to kind of practice typing. And then if I was upset about something, I'd talk to him about it. And you can see, you get very enthusiastic talking to him because he's just explaining everything to you. And it's very gentle and loving. And so we can get really comfortable with that voice within. And I can go back and read those notes and I can see the level of clarity. I'd type a sentence and I go, is that correct? And then he'd go, yes. So I'd type yes. And it was just like these light circles where we're practicing taking a sentence to him and going, okay, is that true? Is that correct? So it becomes like a little back and forth until the point where you can hear him so clearly on everything. See, that when we're not hearing him, it's only because we don't want to. We just practice not hearing our own voice for God. It's really, what is producing this world is insane, and so is what it produces. Okay, Jesus, can you show me where that insanity is? Are there any remnants? And then you just listen. I'm willing to see it. See, the looking is the love. It's the opening to love, is the looking. It's not looking, that where all the hatred and that's how it can stay alive, by not looking to see what's true. Makes it feel alive. It's really death, but we'll use the words, it makes it seem real to us if we don't look. We like keeping a non-reality. Reality is not insane, and I have read real thoughts as well as insane ones. I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. Okay, Jesus, I'm just like really open to hearing what my real thoughts are. It's best to go with them and not know what those are. Will you show them to me? I can therefore see a real world if I looked to my real thoughts as my guide for seeing. So I'm talking to him about higher order thoughts or real thoughts. He says these are the thoughts of the greatest value. That's why he's delivering them to us in the Course. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world, because they're always pointing. All these Course lessons point to truth. They point to true identity. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. Okay, let's ask him, Jesus, am I willing to admit I'm upset because I see a meaningless world? Of course, immediately he tells me the only reason why you can be upset is if you're making the world real. That's why anger is never justified, because if there's anger, and some teachers will talk about that and saying, well, sometimes anger arises and then it goes. No, it's coming out of, yes, it can come and go, and over time, you spend less time there. But if there's a belief in the subconscious mind that anger is justified, you can ask Jesus about it. It's going to show up somewhere in consciousness. It'll express out through the body. You can ask, he's saying yes. In a form of illness. And he's so clear, it's never justified. he said, it's just not your function to express that. That it's not a natural. Is that natural? No. How can it, oh my God, he's gone. How can it be natural to love? When it's an expression of fear, it's an expression of fear. That's not natural to us. Insane thoughts are upsetting. So I'm always upset for insane thoughts. Oh, okay. They produce a world in which there's no order anywhere. Only chaos rules in a world that represents chaotic thinking, and chaos has no laws. That's just because you can see how the play of consciousness is to make these little laws that we have to, it's all chaotic, but we make certain laws, you know, parking meter laws and speed limit laws and got to pay my taxes laws, so we can be subject to them. So we can complain about the IRS, Internal Revenue Service in the US, that's tax collectors. You know, it's just all made up when it's all love expressing, which is good to remember because tax season's coming on now. We have to do our tax. But how great to have Jesus do your taxes for you and have him take over all the finances. Oh my gosh, he's reminding me too. He's saying that's not in a meeting with your accountant. That's a holy encounter. Look for the holy encounter. Be really happy to do your taxes because you'll see the love in it. Oh, that's just beautiful. I cannot live in peace in such a world. I am grateful that this world is not real. Jesus, is there any energy around wanting the world to be real? You can feel it. When we start talking and looking at things here, everybody's going, oh, I feel that. I want that real. I want it. Oh, I want that world to be real. So just let that rise up and sit with it and see that nothing's going to happen to you for wanting it. And just let that express out. So it's not the energy, instead of going inward to prove that God is dead, then it just kind of dissipates in the light. That's all. I want a world really badly, like an itch, super itch. Like we said, we're going to start making a little relish bottles of hell relish. Little chutney, hell chutney. We call it hell relish because that's the truth of what's happening in the world. We're experiencing hell because we relish it. But until you with him, that's the experience here. And you know, he shows you how much you want it. But then you see, okay, this is the way. He has the ticket. He's offering me the ticket out of this. Down in the catacombs, looking down there with them. So, okay, here's this one. Here's another one. And then you'll be going, oh, this experience here, it's like, holy smokes, Jesus, another one. But there's some part of you that will know. You just know that's so purposeful. But if you're not sure, you know who to ask. You can just ask them, is this a release? Is this helpful? And we're always going to him for the interpretation. Every line in this course, which points us to every line of the seeming life here on earth, which it isn't life because we're life itself. I cannot live in peace in such a world. I'm grateful that this world is not real and that I need to see it at all. I need not see it at all. Let's just get the truth from him right up front. Okay. Jesus, do I need to see the world at all? No. He says, when you're holy, just be holy. Unless I choose to value it. And I do not choose to value what is totally insane and has no meaning. He's really teaching us how he's turning that choice inward. Instead of choosing against ourselves, we're now choosing it. It's a reversal. It's a really beautiful little video Dyra sent, a little clip that we just put out And it was such a great reminder of how Jesus is using, instead of the choice to go out, which is really go down into the dungeon of perception, we just turn and it's reversal. And how he uses choice for purpose to look toward him. And then he shows us there are no choices whatsoever. Wasn't that great? We got our little deep dive bubble coming. There goes the submarine down with Jesus. A meaningless world engenders fear. Jesus, does a meaningless world, you can just breathe easier when you just let that bloom here. That's the experience here. Like, so I don't need a meaningless world, do I, Jesus? All you need is love. Dun, 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 dun. All you need is love. Dun, 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 dun. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no grounds for trust. Totally insane. Okay, let's just go ahead. We'll go with Jesus and admit, Jesus, am I acting totally insane? Do I have a lot of sane beliefs? And you go until he says no. Till you no longer tolerate him like he told me. You're tolerating all that. I mean, he was probably nicer. He's just very direct. You're tolerating that. Just look at how you're tolerating it. We're tolerating all this insanity. It holds out no safety and no hope, but such a world is not real. I have given it the illusion of reality and have suffered my belief in it. Am I willing to it? Yes, but just check and see if you're willing to admit suffering the belief in the world. That's a big admission, he's saying. Really see with him whether you're willing to admit you're suffering your beliefs. You're suffering by choice. When that goes down to the core, we were talking about this yesterday. Yeah, Jesus is reminding me about the admission. That's why honesty of God is so valuable to us, because, okay, I admit, Jesus, I am choosing that. You know, it lets that bird of truth, of the power to try and assert where it puts it where it is. And then we're open. We say, oh, I have done this now. How am I going to get out of this? Because I've done it to myself. And I don't even know where I'm still doing it to myself. And so he's taking us by the hand and bringing us to all the places. There's a humility in it. I see that, saying it. Is it just a humility going, okay. But there's also divine power in it where it lands. Because you see how powerful the mind is beyond this world. So it's like the admission, yes, okay, I did it. And you keep saying, I done it, I did it, I did it, I did it. Till he shows you that you didn't do anything. But you don't believe you didn't do anything. See, that's why you can't jump to say, oh, nothing's happening. See how the ego plays like that? And it goes, oh, I didn't do anything. No, you don't believe it deep down in the catacombs, and you're still going to beat yourself up. You know, you're still in the crucifixion phase. Even though, you know, we can see, okay, there's light in here and everything. In the catacombs down there, there's some bones buried about feeling guilty for creating the world. And he's just saying, just let those rise into the light with me. So you see that you're innocent in truth. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no grounds for trust. And I love Muji said how undependable the ego is. It's completely undependable, but we want to depend on the undependable. But you'll start just observing. This is just curiosity. We're just curious. I love that movie. You know, I talk about all the time, The Last Mimsy, because those kids, they were just so innocent about everything. Like, I wonder how this works. And they would just observe like little children. They would just notice, and you could see they got lifted up so high in that. Nothing in madness, and they fulfilled their function fully. You can see it. They just fulfilled their function. Nothing in madness is dependable. It holds out no safety and no hope. But such a world is not real. I have given it the illusion of reality and have suffered from my belief in it. Now I choose to withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. It's in choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear because I'm acknowledging that it does not exist. He's just really showing me how that's admitting it doesn't exist. When you admit the wanting, then you're admitting it can't be true. The desire for the untrue. It's like taking it full admission. And then you see, oh my gosh, that's the path out. That's the path out. And then, again, we were talking yesterday about have Jesus, these things persist. And you see it described throughout the course, but until he really shows you, it's really help him. So you can ask him, okay, really show me where I think there's heaven in whatever I'm feeling now. You know, you ever have these behaviors that keep showing up over and over again. And I was telling the story about how I was sitting in a coaching session in the prison, and this guy came in. I mean, he's just adorable, really. You know, these are bad boys in the way of the world, but they're like so cute. And who would say that? But they were just, I thought you just fall in love with everyone when you just join in truth together. And so he came in a coaching session, and every time he'd talk about being arrested, he would light up like a Christmas tree. You know, it's just, we're just observing, we're learning, you know, without judging. And I suddenly realized, obviously Jesus was coaching me, that there was somehow love was inside of this play. There is a belief that love, and I said to him, you love being arrested. And he's like, huh? Because all his friends were, all the police officers he loved, his family was being arrested. This, can you see how the play, that consciousness made that link, boom, like that? You know, and until we see that there's another way to have that need met, love, that we're confused about how to get love, and Jesus is showing that, then that behavior is not going to change, because that behavior is expressing from belief. Underneath the belief that love comes out of, and then if you take the belief back, it's going to go to the desire. I want this experience of getting arrested. But that's how we are. We want the experience of being, you know, in jail without any bars on. But it's so helpful just to get curious about it all, instead of like, oh my God, this is happening to me. God did not create a meaningless world. Okay, Jesus, let's get that one. That's really helpful, because we really do want to blame God. God, you're screwing me again. I saw that, as I've said, man. And it's happened again many times where, you know, I was sitting in the tub going, I'm so mad at you because you're making me so, and I can see it now, really in the call of the heart. It was to sell the house and lighten up. But that just kind of rage thing comes up, because we can't have it the way we want it. We want to pretend like God didn't make us holy really badly. And that's what we're pounding our fists. No, make me separate. I want to be separate. I want to dive into the bubble of the dream. I want it. I want it. And then go, what happened? Why am I in hell right now? And do the face of innocence. He is the source of all meaning, and everything that is real is in his mind. Jesus, am I real? Ask him. Am I real? The real me, the real no person, no thing, infinite happiness. Is that real? You can ask him. Yes. It is in my mind too, because he created it with me. Why should down? Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts? That is a really good question. How long are we going to suffer our insane thoughts? How long are we going to take that beehive of and pick it up and put it on our heads? But ask him. You can hear him. Jesus, am I doing that to myself? And here I am. And am I doing it because I really like it and want to pretend like I don't like hearing all those? He's saying it's just a play to avoid me. But until you really hear it directo, you know, we just think that we have to have a beehive cage on our head and walk around all day. And that is really helpful to remember. If you're in an assignment, you get really mad at Jesus. Just remember, you can walk out the door, but that beehive's going with you on your head. Until those bees are forgiven, the choice. See, we don't want to, then we're mad at ourselves. We can't be mad at God because we're God. See, so we're mad at ourselves. Why this beehive? I'm just, you know, when am I going to wake up, Jesus? We just ordered the beehive on our heads. It is in my mind too, because it created it with me. Why should I continue to suffer the effects of my own insane beehive thoughts when the perfection of creation is my home and doesn't know what a beehive of thoughts are? That's why we join, just to check in, because our brother becomes the symbol of Jesus to remind us that no such beehive exists unless we want it. And to remind us how simple it is, Jesus. See, this is how the ego does awakening. Now, I think if I look at that thought over there, I'm going to be able to get out. Now, this is how Jesus goes and does it. Jesus, what's most helpful? And then he gets you right to the thing right there. Here's what you look at. And then you admit it. Do I want that? Yes, I do. Peace in the kingdom. Then they come up again because there's more in the catacombs. They're flying out. The bats are flying. But we like to keep the bats. Ask them. You can ask them. They'll like those bats because we're used to bats. We feel like the bats are heaven. Ask them, Jesus, do I think all the bees flying? Do I think that's all heaven? That's why they keep coming. I think these thoughts are heaven. But that is so direct. When you let him, you just say, okay, I'm just going to see it. Why not? What can happen to me? It can't be worse than this beehive on my head at all. Just show me where I think this beehive is heaven. This beehive of thought. Or I like this more than God. You know, and at first you're kind of dumbfounded because it's like, oh, it can't be possible that I could possibly want more than heaven. And then when he shows it to you, you go, oh yeah, I want that. Yeah. But we're innocent. He's just saying, give the beehive to me. You don't need it. See that? So he's got to decondition us from wearing a beehive on our head of thoughts stinging us all day. You can ask. And it's also a fun way. He's using things like this because they're fun, not to get so, it's just what we want to have happen. But it can't do the light test. Let's put the beehive on because we can. We create it. We can bring it back anytime, anytime. And just put on and practice going, okay, if the bees are buzzing, is the light impacted in the light test? See, so we have to, because literally, so it's not about, I'm going to talk to him about that because it's really good. So we can see what's happening when we're not following thoughts. We're not following his direction. Like he gives us a prompt, do this and do it on this date. Okay. He's trying to tell us we're literally sacrificing ourselves. Okay. So we just chose the beehive. And then we're all disturbed and kerfuffling, we're fighting bees all the time. He was going to take us to show us that there's no doer and there's no such thing as a beehive. That's what the assignment is for. It's only to show you there's no beehive whatsoever. But we keep the beehive on and go, no, I can't quite hear you. What do you know? It's like this. That's static in that phone. I can't hear you at all, Jesus. And then the ego is going to set it up so it feels impossible for you to actually follow. It'll be, some kind of big deal to make a change, and the ego will make it seem that way. And sometimes you got to say no. And so I just became totally willing. Like if I wasn't hearing him right, I was totally willing. It didn't matter what happened. I bought a plane ticket, whatever I did. I just said, if I didn't hear you right, I am selling this and I'm going to do something else. And I'll drop it right now. And you'll see how powerful that is. It's like, I'll find myself doing this. And it's like, if this is not by God's will right here, right now, I'm walking out. And it's so helpful. You see how powerful you are. Then it doesn't have control over you anymore. Those little things. If this is not in thy will be done, I'm stepping out. I'm moving to something else. And then we're really saying no to the ego then. Because you start to know that your happiness depends on that divine expression. And then it's the space for him to bring you into direct experience of infinite, to see that there's no doer doing. And where you believe, see, wherever we don't think we can do what he's asking, that's a place we believe there's a doer doing something. Thank you for that reminder, Jesus. Let me remember. It is in my mind too, because he created it with me. Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts when perfection and creation, when light is my home? Let me remember the power of my decision and recognize where I really abide. All is given by the Father. We can check it, do the light check. Jesus, am I actually in heaven now? And all I do is pick up a beehive and put it on to pretend that I'm not in heaven. My thoughts are images that I have made. Do I relish that, Jesus? Here, listen to him. Do I relish taking my little thoughts and making a little image out of them? You can hear the yes. Oh. He just says, oh, with so much love, you get a little cuddle, when you go back to Jesus. Just see that you're innocent. So he teaches you how you're innocent of it all. Then you can relax. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. Let's look at that one. That's a good one. Okay, Jesus, we're going to look at this one deep. Okay. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. So he's turning those thoughts that the world defines us. See, I'm defined by what I think. Because because I think I am. No, what you are doesn't think. Ask Jesus, ask him, does what I am think? So he's using thoughts of God, pointing out to infinite. It's the reversal of the dive to death. He's going, okay, come out here, out here, out here. Ah, there's only light here. I didn't do anything wrong. It's impossible. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. Okay, so Jesus, you tell me the thoughts I'm to have today. He says infinite. Thoughts of infinite. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me I am seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts, and I'm not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see. Yet God's way is sure. The images I have made cannot prevail against him because it is not my will that they do so. My will is his, and I will place no other gods before him. Yes. No other beehives before the Lord. I said, is every thought part of the beehive? Yes. But for a time, so he switches us. He gets us thinking higher order thoughts, pointing out of the delusion. See, he's just leading us with breadcrumbs of higher order thoughts until even those would fall away in infinite light. So he uses what we think comforts us, which we think thoughts can comfort us. Ask him. I think that beehive is really comforting. You think it's safety. He says, you think that beehive is safety. You think it's heaven. Heaven is comprised of zzz. So we need him to show that. So it's the reversal. It's the flip. So you've become, we can play in consciousness, be so unfamiliar with infinite light. Infinite love. A joy that goes on infinitely forever. Supreme happiness. So Jesus, we're going to sit with 2 minutes. Thank you. We'll sit for a few minutes here. Just letting these thoughts of God. Jesus, our only desire here is to have these thoughts be our thoughts. Jesus, thank you for showing us how to be the happy learner. We become the infinite learner. We become unlearned on the ways of the world. You know, they'd say he's a learned man. We're the unlearned ones. David would say, clueless and carried. That sounds better and better all the time. Rest is infinite light. Jesus said that's the only rest. He was bringing to mind how these little thoughts of God, you know how when they go into a beehive and they take that smoke, you know, and all the bees settle down? That's what the Course lessons help do. Holy smoke. You just said a little fun there. That's so God's holy smoke. Oh, thank you, Jesus. So we'd like to ask Lori if she'll come and bring her light. Sing the real in our hearts.
This is called Holy Smoke. Just kidding. This one's called Sunshine Beloved, Lighten Up. We're on the way back. Hi-ho, silver hearts open wide. Riding down to the basement. Willingness is lighting the mind. Let it be, let it breathe, let it bloom, let it sing. Let the Christ pass into all borders. The deepest dive is love alive on a rocket ship. Jesus, you drive. Holy, is anything more powerful than light? Holy, Ale, Ale, precious, pure, infinite light. Sunshine, beloved, hurry to me, huddle and cuddle up, sweet turtle doves. Look together at the shadows, the hiding paper tigers, the seas to deny. Man, your rhythm, your timing, Jesus, are you driving? Holy, is anything more powerful than light? Holy, Ale, Ale, precious, pure, infinite light. Holy light. Holy, holy light. Holy, holy light. Holy, holy light. Show me this isn't true. 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 Show me this isn't real. 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 Holy, is anything more powerful than light? Holy, Ale, Ale, precious, pure, infinite light. Holy, is anything more powerful than light? Holy, Ale, Ale, precious, pure, infinite light. Holy light. Holy, holy light. Ale, ale, holy, 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 ale, ale. Yeah. Thank you for singing.
Love to you all from San Juan, Cosala in Mexico. We're sending our love and wishes, warmest, loving wishes that Jesus light your mind. Amen. There's the crew, the Buddha crew.